Hey everybody, welcome to the secret history living in your aquarium. Today I wanted to share with you a really unusual cichlid. This is a very small cichlid in the scheme of things. Less than 3 inches, just over 2 inches. And this is a female right here with that beautiful jewel blue fin there. And if we look on the other side, the male is hiding right under here. And he's got a yellow, beautiful yellow breast, and then he's got green and yellow metallic eye spot on his side. They both have a lateral or horizontal line on them, and then the male has spots all over his dorsal fin and caudal fin. They're just really pretty fish, but subtly. They have this subtle coloration to them. In certain lights that is just phenomenal. But here we can see the female starting to get gravid. You can see that she's got a bit of a bump swelling right here, and those will be eggs. Now they're in a tank that is not set up for any sort of rift cichlid or cribs or anything like that, because these are actually from Guinea, and they're from a really interesting river system that's very soft water, very neutral water, pretty much 6.5 to 7, a little bit acidic, if anything at all, during the drier season, just due to leaf litter. And then during the wet season, it's totally neutral because it's all rainwater. And they are a beautiful little fish with the body built very much the same as a cribensis, and here you can kind of see some of that subtle pink and yellow and peach up in the fin, and their whole body kind of has that beautiful shimmer to it. But these fish are called the well, they have several names, but usually they go by the Enigmatochromis lucanusi, and basically just means they haven't figured out a better name for them. They're the only fish in their little group, and they come from a creek or river called the Foto River, Foto River, and they're just a beautiful little fish that can live alongside your other tropical fish, or even alongside riverine hill stream type fish, which is pretty neat for a dwarf cichlid. So they're not very high maintenance, even though most of them are wild caught currently. This pair was wild caught, but they can be bred in captivity. They just aren't currently because they're not one of the brighter species color wise. But if you had a nice aquascape, they would definitely be the kind of cichlid to think about considering for that, because they really make the subtleties shine when nature and natural tones are kind of at the forefront of what you're showing off in your aquarium. But again, here's that male peeking out and saying hello. Now they are cave spawners, and they're being cichlids, they take care of their young. Here comes that female again. Look at how pretty she is right now. And again, for size, they're very, very small, and these are full grown, like I said, out of the wild. And they're from West Africa, and they like sandy bottoms, and they like clean water. So I'm always doing water changes in this tank. It always has falling water, and obviously the water is dropped in this tank. Well, that's actually mostly for the benefit of both the rainbow fish that are in here and all these little gobies, because these gobies can climb right up to the rim, but they generally won't climb out if there's a rim in the way. They may climb up the glass a little bit, but they're not going to climb out of the tank usually. But in any case, it's just interesting that you can put them in with fish that normally you would assume you need harder water or something like that. And these are a great example of one of the cichlids that you can keep in neutral to, really you can keep them from 6 to 7.5, even 8 if you need to, but they flourish and do best, they thrive in more neutral and low TDS, neutral pH water, around, you know, they're found right near the equator, so they are going to like warm temperatures. They are going to like, you know, somewhere around 75 to 80 degrees being ideal. 78 is pretty much perfect, and I know a lot of people keep their tanks at 76 or 78, so that will do just fine for them. You do want to give them some pre-made little spawning areas and houses, this little cave, but also they seem to like ledges more, so sticks and ledges. There are plants in their river, which a lot of cichlids, their environment doesn't lend itself, if you want to keep it a biotope, doesn't lend itself to having plants in the river, but up there, that's part of the rainforest belt of Africa, and it does have plants. So they're a really fun and easy cichlid. Now, to spawn them, I'm told, mine haven't spawned yet, in all fairness, but I'm told that they're very similar to Crebensis or other dwarf cichlids, Apistogramma, and other cichlids like that. Here, I'll show you another neutral water cichlid while we're talking about them because they're out, but these are some trifasciata Apistogramma, and size-wise, they are pretty much the same. These guys have a little bit bigger fins, but they're pretty much the same size-wise. They're very small little cichlids, and very cool little cichlids. These, obviously, there are many types of Apistogramma, and this is just one. It's the three-lined Apistogramma, and this is a domestic version. It's been bred in captivity, is what I should say. But there are a number of other Apistos, and they're known for liking acidic to neutral water also. But it does turn out there are African cichlids that you can keep in that kind of water just fine. And in fact, I've kept them with shrimp, so that's amazed me that they haven't tried to eat any of the shrimp. They seem to be kind of scavengers to omnivores. They eat the pellets that are for carnivorous fish, but they don't seem to eat many of them if I put those in for the other fish in here. And so they seem to really like the algae wafers and things like that just as much. So they need a well-rounded diet, and frozen food is ideal if you can't have, you know, live food. They will eat baby brine shrimp and things like that, but they're pretty easygoing, being kind of scavengers in the river, and so they will eat. Right now you can see ones under here eating, it's just a tetragranule tropical fish pellet. But they do spit their food out a lot, and they also are sand sifters, so they go through the sand eating little crustaceans and things that they find in there, and, you know, things like scuds. This tank used to have scuds in it, and since I put them in, all the scuds have kind of disappeared. So I find that kind of interesting because I used to have the scuds for this little guy, this dragon goby from Indonesia, who also hunts scuds, but there are none left. But I just wanted to show off these guys, and that they're a neat little cichlid you can keep in kind of different parameters than maybe you would expect an African cichlid to be kept in. But give them sand and give them some plants and lots of places to hide, and with that you can then have fairly strong light on the tank, and they don't seem to mind. They'll come out in the light midday, but the rest of the time they'll kind of hide in the shadows if it's not literally midday for a few hours. But they're still very visible because they'll hang out near the edges of the tanks in the corners and things frequently, especially being wild caught. Now, I got these from the wet spot in Portland, Oregon. If you're interested, they're very rare to come through, and you know, sometimes they're known as the blue lucanusi because of where they're found and the color, and the person who found them being Lucas being the name. So kind of cool fish. I hope you guys enjoyed this little video on them. Alright, I'll talk to you guys next time on The Secret History Living in Your Aquarium.